Welcome to National Pension Partners, where retirement planning meets peace of mind. Today, we're diving into the 412(e)(3 plan, also known as a fully insured pension plan. This isn't just any retirement plan. It's the gold standard for stability and guaranteed benefits. How does it work? Simple. It's funded exclusively by life insurance and annuity contracts. This means no market risks, no actuarial assumptions, just ironclad guarantees. Think of it like this. You're a small business owner who hates surprises. The 412(e)(3 plan gives you predictable, stable contributions every year. Your future benefits are backed by insurance contracts, so you know exactly what you're getting. No guesswork, no headaches. But there's more. These plans are designed to maximize your contributions and offer significant tax advantages. And with National Pension Partners, you're not just getting a plan, you're getting a team of experts, attorneys, CPAs, actuaries, all dedicated to making your retirement as secure as possible. We provide personalized consulting, ensuring that your plan is tailored to your specific needs. Best part? Initial consultations and proposals are absolutely free. $0, zero commitment. So if you want a retirement plan that's as reliable as your morning coffee, head over to nationalpensions.com. With the 412(e)(3 plan, your future is in safe hands. Retirement planning never sounded so thrilling. Perfect for small business owners who like their finances as predictable as Monday mornings. Stable contributions, ironclad guarantees, and serious tax advantages. It's the trifecta of financial security. And with National Pension Partners, you get a team of brainiacs, attorneys, CPAs, actuaries, ensuring your retirement is as secure as Fort Knox. Oh, did we mention the free consultations? That's right. You get a personalized expert proposal with $0 down. So, if you want a retirement plan that's as reliable as your morning coffee, head over to nationalpensions.com. Because when it comes to your future, boring is the new exciting. Retirement planning never sounded so thrilling. For more details, check out National Pension Partners at nationalpensions.com. Retirement planning never sounded so thrilling.
I guess I could use some of this time to get into pleasantries and to talk about the many experiences I've had with you, not only here, but in Europe and other places. What do you have in store for us this summer?
That's a good question. Well, I don't know about the summer. I guess I should begin with what we have in store for the spring. I feel that we are in the midst of a most critical period in our nation, and the economic problem is probably the most serious problem confronting the Negro community, and I might say the most serious problem confronting poor people generally. And I don't want to be narrow about this, talking only about the black poor in our country, because I must be concerned about Puerto Ricans who are poor, Mexican Americans, American Indians, and Appalachian whites. And we are confronting a major depression in the poor community. And I think the time has come to bring to bear the power of the direct action, the nonviolent direct action movement, on the basic economic conditions that we face all over the country. Nonviolence has been a tremendous force in grappling with the social problem of legal segregation and the syndrome of deprivation surrounding that system. And of course it has been a major force in grappling with the political problem of the denial of the right to vote. But in winning victories like the Civil Rights Bill of '64 and the Voting Rights Bill of 1965 around the issue of segregation and voting rights, we discovered that these legislative strides did very little to improve the lot of the millions of Negroes in the ghettos of the North and in the nation generally. In other words, it did very little to penetrate the lower depths of Negro deprivation in communities all over.
And will force it down his throat And we'll say, Gavin, if you don't do it, we're not giving you any of that fire money that we send you all the time for all the forest fires that you have. It's not hard to do.
Looking at this the right way or not. So if y'all see me out in public or in one of my cars and I had a R. Kelly flag flapping from my car, or a Bill Cosby hat on, or R. Kelly shirt, or a Harvey Weinstein sign in my yard, on my lawn, or a Diddy flag hanging from my house, or my car was wrapped in Diddy, or Harvey Weinstein bumper sticker, what would be the message y'all think I'm trying to send to you? Exactly. You would think I'm publicly and unapologetically standing in solidarity with all of the things that's been associated with this particular individual, whether they've been accusations, whether they've been what they've been found guilty of, etc., etc. You wouldn't think, oh, maybe he has that R. Kelly flag flapping from his car because he's just celebrating the charity work he's done in the community. Or maybe he has that flag flapping from his car, the R. Kelly flag, because he's just celebrating the amount of albums he sold. You wouldn't think that. You would immediately think of all the bad things associated with that particular individual. So when I see you with your MAGA hat on, or your Trump flag flapping from your car, or the Trump sign in your yard, or your Trump flag hanging off your house, or your car wrapped in Trump, or your Trump bumper sticker, or your MAGA shirt, I should think you're standing in solidarity too with all the bad things that he represents, correct? You don't get to say, no, I just like his policies, or I'm a patriot. No. I should think you don't like Haitians too. I should think you down with Project 2025 too. I should think you don't like free or fair elections too. I should think you don't like immigrants too. I should think all the things that he's been associated with and found guilty with, you stand for that too. Because if I was on here right now with an R. Kelly shirt or a Bill Cosby hat, you would link me to that too, correct?
Well, we need Mark in order to be able to do the news, and he's been in and out. So,
well, I think that the commercials that you were showing, or old videos that we had stockpiled, was a great way to, introduce the new world we have here in America. How are you doing?
Yeah, I wanted to see the new video, the videos. So I haven't
watched those in a long time. Sometimes I think it's a good refresher of,
there's
what
some other
we have.
ones that are pretty good we have on here. I could watch them too.
Good morning, Rick.
Good morning.
The next video is 4 minutes and 57 seconds. It's an oldie. Did you want to see it?
Sure.
So Mark is here. Let's go take a look. I don't know what it is. We'll see. It's been stored here.
I guess I could use some of this time to get into pleasantries and to talk about the many.
I want to ask you a question, and that is, what is in your life's blueprint? Number one in your life's blueprint should be, don't allow anybody to make you feel that you are nobody. Always feel that you count. Always feel that you have worth, and always feel that your life has ultimate significance. Don't be ashamed of your color. Don't be ashamed of your biological features. somehow you must be able to say in your own lives and really believe it, I am black but beautiful, and believe it in your heart. Secondly, in your life's blueprint, you must have the determination to achieve excellence in your various fields of endeavor. When you discover what you're going to be in life, set out to do it as if God Almighty called you at this particular moment in history to do it. It falls your lot to be a street sweeper. Sweep streets like Michelangelo painted pictures. Sweep streets like Beethoven composed music. Sweep streets like Leontine Price sings before the Metropolitan Opera. Sweep streets like Shakespeare wrote poetry. And so from an old slave cabin of Virginia's hills, Booker T. Washington rose up to be one of America's great leaders. He lit a torch in Alabama, and darkness fled in that setting from a poverty-stricken area of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Marian Anderson rose up to be the world's greatest contralto, so that a Toscanini could say that a voice like this comes only once in a century. And Sibelius of Finland could say, my roof is too low for such a voice from crippling circumstances. There came a George Washington Carver to carve for himself an imperishable niche in the annals of science. Then came Joe Louis and Muhammad Ali with their educated fists. All of them came to tell us that we can be somebody. Skin may differ, but affection dwells in black and white the same. And if I were so tall as to reach the pole, or to grasp the ocean at a span, I must be measured by my soul. The mind is the standard of the man. Finally, in your life's blueprint must be a commitment to the eternal principles of beauty, love, and justice. Don't allow anybody to pull you so low as to make you hate them. I close by quoting once more the man that the young lady quoted, Langston Hughes. One day he wrote a poem entitled Mother to Son. Well, son, I'll tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stat. It's had tacks in it. Boards torn up, places with no carpet on the floor, bare. But all the time, I's been a climbing on and reaching landings and turning corners and sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So boy, don't you stop now. Don't you sit down on the steps 'cause you find this kind of hard, but I's still going, boy. I's still climbing. And life for me ain't been no crystal stair. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl, but by all means, keep moving.
Well,
Beautiful. Beautiful.
we
I
can
have
believe
a video
that.
of today I want to share with you guys just to show you the impact of what is happening and how it's changing people's mindsets, because people are really starting to take economy, numbers, math very serious, and the accounting of everything. This was pretty impactful to me when I watched this.
Focused on the Super Bowl, the city of New Orleans kidnapped 100 homeless people. State police forced over 100 unhoused people onto buses and dumped them off in a freezing warehouse. Said unhoused people didn't go, they'd be sent to jail. Their tents were destroyed, all of their belongings taken, and the press was not allowed to go to the warehouse. And guess how much this cruelty cost? $17.5 million. Yes, $17.5 million to relocate 100 people for just 90 days. $17 million is the equivalent of 1 year's rent for 1,177 people. That's 80% of New Orleans' homeless population. Bro, they literally could have housed 80% of the unhoused people for an entire year. Oh yeah, in the warehouse, horrible conditions. No insulation, dirt floors, it had holes in the roof and pools of water on the floor. And the relocation occurred just a couple days before that massive winter storm hit New Orleans with 10 inches of snow. So in order for Americans to get their bread and their circus and watch this stupid ass game of men in tights toss balls around, they had to lock up, kidnap, and put an unhoused population in a concentration camp. Welcome to America, where a fantasy football team matters more than your life. Focused on the...
So there you go. I think he couldn't have said it any better.
Is that a true story?
I mean, but those numbers are pretty impactful. And, you know, Nick,
Well,
like they did in New York, these were Americans. These were certified Americans, and they housed them up like a prison camp. Why couldn't they have put them up in the Roosevelt like they did in New York? I mean, why couldn't they have used a couple falling down, 100 people? That's 100 rooms. Really? All for the Super Bowl. I'm about done with the Super Bowl. I'm about done with the NFL. I'm just over the over the top attitude of the people in America putting something like that first. It's pathetic.
Well, LA is going to face this in we got the Olympics. We have more than 70,000 homeless people. So LA is going to have to figure out what to do.
So I don't have an issue with the sporting events because the sporting events actually bring money to the actual cities that they come to. What I have more of an issue with, which we don't talk about or which we actually overlook, it costs about 17 million to put a person in Guantanamo Bay. So we're worried about a place that, for example, this is again why I have no issue with the Super Bowl, because the Super Bowl brought billions of dollars to the city of New Orleans. Guantanamo Bay does nothing. It brings no money to anybody. It just literally takes money to house people in a place that should not be used at all.
Okay.
So if we're talking about anything, I can see the trade-off with sporting events, and I'm okay with that because I can understand we need to put more money, and that money comes into the area and actually helps people. But we're not complaining enough about Guantanamo Bay and the expenses that we're using to create this mass deportation thing that is just for show. How much money does it take to send Dr. Phil to do these actual staged? Oh, well, we caught this one individual, but we're not talking about that. All these staged things that we're putting on cost more money. Inflation right now has risen the highest since March of last year. And that just happened in January.
Well, have you seen the farmers who are retracting that they made a mistake because they're all losing their farms? They're hoping that Trump will throw them some money and save their farms. But without the immigrants, this is what they said. We had no idea he was going to send our immigrants home.
Yep. The farmers.
We didn't think he was going to do that to us. We just thought he was going to do that to y'all.
For the past 30 years, for the past 34 years, farmers have had a suicide rate of 3.5 times the rest of the population.
Higher than lawyers? Lawyers usually run the highest.
Yes. I don't know, but I
know this because they have a special section in the bar for
farmers.
Lawyers.
Kill themselves 3 times and that spiked under Trump the first time. So, and I don't,
the reason it spiked the first time is because he played around with these tariffs again the first time, which actually put a lot of farmers out of business the first time. And now he's starting off with the same thing, putting more farmers out of business. The individuals with this whole, and that's another complaint about, oh, USAID is so bad. Well, the USAID honestly bought a lot of crops and everything from the U.S. farmers to send off to these other countries. So now where are those farmers going to make up that money now? They're not. I mean, so again, this is all. We are at a problem, and we are at the find out stage for a lot of people. Black people, we good. We tried to tell y'all and voted against them, but y'all didn't want to listen.
All right, I want to talk about what I'm calling the trans trap, which is how Democrats get played by, like, they get sucked into Republican framing of issues. So in the presidential election, the popular vote, Kamala Harris lost by 2.3 million votes. And you got to ask, how many of the votes were lost because of the trans issue? If trans was taken off the table, I think that takes care of about 300,000 votes. It doesn't win her the election, but it gets her significantly closer. Now, I don't think. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think the trans issue was an issue. However, she never pushed the trans issue.
No, but Republicans say Democrats push the trans issue, and then Democrats don't respond adequately, and that's what I call the trap. So
well, that's because they do push the issue. I mean, they do push the agenda. And the thing is, and people are getting targeted. I mean, Leah Thomas. I mean, really, him being a swimmer. Of course, it hits the news every day.
Nick, hold on.
And then I didn't even know what woke was until they showed that Disney movie Snow White, and I was going like, okay, I got it. All right.
Okay. Now we got a couple of questions that
I understand.
Hold on. Let me frame this.
It's a Hollywood agenda, and people are tired of it. So
let me talk about.
Happy with it, but too bad you lost.
So you have been persuaded that the Democrats have been pushing trans, and I think it's up to the Democrats to figure out how to respond and frame the debate so that doesn't get hung on them. So there are
just don't push it in every bloody movie, every bloody book, every bloody thing that we watch, every sporting event. I mean, if you didn't like push it in everybody's face, you wouldn't have this issue. You can go on to another issue that makes a difference.
What movie?
So,
let me frame what I'm saying. So there are 500,000 NCAA athletes competing. 10 of them, one athlete in 50,000 is trans. There are conservative organizations who track how many events worldwide have been won by trans athletes, taking those wins away from biological women. And this one organization found 28 wins from 2003 through 2022 in the entire world, a little bit more than one win a year. Now, the pace is, but all Biden and the Democrats had to do is say, we're putting, what Trump just did. Hold on. Now, I know it's not fair necessarily if you believe trans athletes should compete. It's not fair to F them over. But Trump just said no more trans athletes competing with biological women. And so you're effing over, at least at the NCAA level, 10 athletes. And yeah, that's maybe, depending on how you feel, not fair to them. But if it gets you 300,000 votes, all Biden would have had to do, or Harris would have to say, we're pausing. Hold on, let me just finish. We're pausing competition by trans athletes while we study it. And that little thing would have been enough maybe to win back 150,000 votes.
That wouldn't have worked, because honestly, first off, to do that, then you're putting a target on a minority group's back, a minority in our society, already saying that they're a bad group. It's the same thing, because Black individuals are only 13% of the population. It's like saying, hey, maybe we should just overlook Black people because they're only 13% of the population. Or, hey, let's just overlook the Hispanic population that's only about 17% of the population. That's basically what you're doing and putting a target on those individuals' back. They shouldn't do this because it's harming the white individuals. That's actually what technically what Trump and Elon Musk are trying to do now. What the Republican Party has done, and they've done it since Nixon when they created the Southern strategy, fighting all around culture wars and white angst. That is all this is. And the only way to actually attack that white angst or really combat against that is to truthfully push back against it. Point out what you're talking about. You're arguing that, oh my goodness, the Democrat Party is pushing transgender issues. Not one ad, not one campaign moment can you point to that happened. So you're going to sit here and lie to me right now that, hey, they were pushing these. And then in terms of woke, I didn't know what woke meant until define woke. Let's push back. Let's go down.
Hold on. Let me reiterate my point, which is the Democrats got their ass kicked over trans. They didn't respond effectively at all. And so
Rick, honestly, what the Democrats did was what you were wanting them to do.
Actually,
what Trump and the Republican Party do, they throw out all this BS, and we've got to respond to every little bit of BS, and we get tied up in the actual weeds when we're not actually.
What really cost us was three things, because if you notice, and I pointed this out, Trump only became a repeater of three things. Okay, it was the cost of your groceries. All right, everyone I talked to, they said, "Oh, my life was so much better when Trump was in office." Well, we didn't go anywhere when Trump was in office. There was nothing we could do. We were all locked down. There was no way we could spend money. So yeah, your finances got a little bit better because guess what? You didn't do anything for a year and a half. Okay. So yeah, the other thing was the immigrants. The Democrats did not address the immigrant issue. In fact, they admitted fault. They sat there and said we could have done better, or we didn't do it fast enough. So so groceries first, because people got to eat. They got to take care of themselves. So cost of living, groceries, immigrants, and then fear, the trans and the pro-life or pro-birth, as I call it, pro-birth. Now I want to give you guys a big lesson that we forget history in this country. Republicans, they don't know how to read their own history. And I wanted to play back something that was probably one of the best classes I ever took in my life, because I actually sat and listened to this man. And I want you guys to watch this, because this is true.
The Republican-controlled House of Representatives, in an effort to alleviate the effects of the Anyone? The Great Depression passed the Anyone?
Smoot-Hawley.
The Hawley-Smoot Tariff Act, which anyone raised or lowered tariffs in an effort to collect more revenue for the federal government. Did it work? Anyone know the effects? It did not work, and the United States sank deeper into the Great Depression. In 1930,
So there you have it.
Yeah.
In 1930, we're repeating 1930 with the same demographics, the same situation. They imposed tariffs, and it sank us deeper and deeper and deeper into debt.
So the consumer price index is out for January. It's 0.5, which gives you an annual inflation rate of 3%, which means inflation is already heading back up, likely. But let's talk about, I just want to say the same thing about Dems also got their asses kicked on abortion. There was no reason to, all Dems would have to do is frame it there, say, no, listen, all Dems would have to say is after the 7th month, abortions are absolutely not allowed except to save the life of the mother, which is actually the current policy.
The way it is anyway. That's all they had to do is say it.
Just to point out one thing that you guys keep assuming that all the Dems had to do was say it was never going to be that way.
Yeah,
never.
But they didn't do anything.
Real quick, the things that you pointed out that were the pocketbook issues, the inflation and everything else. We already pointed out there were 33 elections that year, and the incumbents, regardless of party, of whoever they were, the majority of them lost, over 25 of them. So that was baked in the cake. So even if you said, oh, we're going to say the same exact thing the Republicans said, they've already said we're voting against you regardless. So then what are you doing? You're losing your own base by trying to appease people who would never vote for you. It didn't matter what Biden did. It didn't matter the fact that Biden tried to cut student loans for individuals that are being affected. Donald Trump is literally raising the inflation, and not a single one of the people who voted for Donald Trump are saying anything right now. They're defending it. So when we sit here and assume that, oh, well, we lost because of that, or they lost because all they had to say was they were never going to vote for him regardless. They were going to come up with something. The point is, if you do not learn how to actually fight and communicate on the way that the Republican Party is doing, basically using these culture wars, but being able to fight against those culture wars, being able to message better instead of having a complex, nuanced message, the whole "Make America Great Again" is a point that he's doing. He's not making America great again. He just sold people on a bumper sticker line. So again, saying that, oh, well, we should have done this, we should have lied that, oh, well, we're not going to support that. Democrats should have just gone out and said, hey, well, transgenders suck. Don't you want to vote for us now? That's not going to help at all.
Well, here's the other situation. And, you say he sold you on a bumper sticker, but he sells timeshares, right? He owns timeshares. He owns timeshare companies. He owns a big stake in it. So, if you go to Timeshare University, you learn how to con people. You learn how to sell them what they think they need. But the thing is that if you listened to him, he stuck to 3 issues. No matter what his interview was, he didn't answer any of their questions. He repeated the same 3 lines. I thought he was senile. He wasn't. He was very intelligent. I'm not going to answer your question. I'm here to campaign what I want to say and what I'm going to do. Done. And then he would leave and go to the next one. And people were dumb enough to have him on. So what you got, Nick? Bernie?
I have Warren Buffett. Warren
here.
I'm going to see if I can get him to play because he's got something important to say. You've probably heard of this guy before.
Oh, yeah, but what he's been saying lately has been interesting.
Yeah.
Can you get it?
A part of the earnings of the business we make. They don't own the assets, but they own a percentage of the earnings. And they can change that percentage in a year, and the percentage that they've decreed currently is 21%. And I would say with present fiscal policies, I think that something has to give, and I think that higher taxes are quite likely, and the government wants to take a greater share of your income or mine or Berkshire's. They can do it, and they may decide that someday they don't want the fiscal deficit to be this large because that has some important consequences, and they may not want to decrease spending a lot, and they may decide they'll take a larger percentage of what we earn, and we'll pay it. And we always hope at Berkshire to pay substantial federal income taxes. We think it's appropriate that a country that's been as generous to our owners. It's been the place. I was lucky, or she was lucky this year. If we send in a check like we did last year, we send in over $5 billion to the U.S. federal government. And 800 other companies have done the same thing. No other person in the United States would have had to pay the dime of federal taxes, whether income taxes.
All right, so I want to go back to
Social Security taxes, no estate taxes, no. It's all been down the line now. I would like to. I hope things develop well enough with Berkshire that we say we're in the 800 club and maybe even move up a few notches. It doesn't bother me in the least to write that check, and I would really hope with all the America's done for all of you, it shouldn't bother you that we do it. And if I'm doing it at 21% this year and we're doing it at a higher percentage later on, I don't think you'll actually mind the fact that we sold a little Apple this year.
Okay.
15th of 2018, you mentioned that you guarantee you could make a 50% annual return if you had to start again with under $1 million. The question is, if tomorrow you woke up in the body of your body.
So what was he trying to tell us? Anyone?
I know that he's okay with paying a certain amount in taxes.
On a full-time basis. What method or methods would you use to achieve that return? Would it involve flipping through 20,000 pages of Moody's manual or similar publications, or finding gigabytes, or would it be hunting for
look at the job screen and look for the
all right. So I want to go back to abortion for a second. So we're and also just the margins. The Dems only lost the popular vote by less than 1.5%. So you don't have to persuade that many people. And so if you take some issues away from some people, like abortion, I don't know why Dems just didn't say after the 7th month, no abortions except to save the life of the mother, which is pretty much the policy anyway. There is language like that.
Actually, I think they did.
Let me finish my sentences, please. I don't know. There's language like that in Roe itself. And Dems could pass things in Dem states that say no abortion 8th, 9th month, except to save the life of the mother. Those are very rare anyway. You're not changing actual policy, but you're taking some of the issue away from Republicans.
Again, that wouldn't have changed anything. If you look at the numbers real quick, if you look at the numbers, because you just quoted that she lost the popular vote by 2 some odd million or whatever percentage. But honestly, if you add in the fact that people voted for other people too, and if you add all those numbers up, Donald Trump lost. He did not win the majority of actual voters. So there were more people who voted against Donald Trump than voted for Donald Trump. So why didn't those individuals not vote for Kamala Harris? There were a plethora of things, from the changeover to her not knowing her, not trusting her, to trans, to being black, being a black woman, being a woman. There were a myriad of things that the Democrat Party was never going to get through there. And Kim is right. They did stick to only a couple of things, but it wasn't actually the way that they stuck to. It wasn't what they stuck to. It was how they stuck to them. One, they went with when we talked about immigration, it was about it was about the white replacement theory. They're coming for your jobs, they're coming to steal you, they're coming to hurt you, and they're coming to harm you. So they demonized immigrants to make them look like they were these complete criminals. Did you want the Democrat Party to turn around and say, yeah, they're all criminals? That's not going to change anybody. That's not. That was already baked in the cake. With abortion, they're killing babies. Oh, you just want to kill babies. They weren't going to have a legitimate conversation or an understanding around abortion. So you want to say, well, we're going to kill babies too, or so? We're not going to kill babies. We're going to imprison mothers. And they did all these things, and they stuck to the fear factor of those actual policies that they wanted to discuss. So we're never going to win that unless we figure a way to discuss these issues and combat the problems that they're coming through. Because changing a policy or lying about a policy change that you're not even going to stick to, that's not going to work.
So
here, go ahead, Rick.
All right. So half of American voters now are independents. They're in the middle. And so, the people who say that life begins when the sperm hits the egg, you're never going to persuade them to vote Dem. But there are more independents than there are people like that. And Harris would have had to get at least 5 million more votes out of a total of 160 some million people who voted. You can't change that she's black and that she's a woman. But you can certainly pick up people on the margins by taking some of the force away from Republican arguments and not letting them frame every frickin' debate.
That's the point right there. You have to break that frame. And what you said right there, that is exactly it. Because the Republican Party, for example, Nick tried to bring up the idea of, I didn't know what woke was until I saw Snow White.
Disney on Netflix.
What the term was. They took it away from the actual terminology of what woke is, and where actually the history of where woke came from, what it meant, and they framed it as it's black. They're taking away something from white.
It was Latino.
That is exactly what woke became. DEI.
It's a gender-driven. It's just a gender
argument they did around welfare. Welfare helps more white women and white families than it does of black families. But what did it become? Who was it? Newt Gingrich, they kept pushing welfare queens. And that became the term.
That was Reagan.
Yeah, that was Reagan. And that became the term to attack minorities and black people. And that became the easy dumping ground because it's easy to bring up, hey, they're coming for your money. This is the great white replacement theory that is in your face. And we're not, and this is what the beauty of the whole Super Bowl was. That was what it was talking about.
All right, so let's talk about white bros. Young white men gave Republicans a huge boost in this election. And, I was still sponging off my parents. Well, all through my 20s, probably into my 30s. Young white bros, I'd say half of them, they don't feel the economic impact of eggs and milk because they're still getting that stuff out of their parents' refrigerator. But they're persuaded by culture war Joe Rogan bullshit. And so the Democrats have to get better at framing arguments and not expecting people to come to them for understanding, but that you got to go to the people and you got to spit your possibly bullshitty arguments in their faces just as hard as the Republicans spit their possibly bullshitty arguments.
You got to go down
the Democrats. They brought it on themselves. I don't know why you guys just don't get it.
I don't think you understand how they did this. I lectured everyone on this over a year ago. They spread fear. They point blame. And through this, they build their gathering and they get them to where they can lead them into the desert and convince them they are so thirsty they will drink the sand. That's how they did it. Okay. That is one of my favorite phrases of all times. This has happened repeatedly in history. They find what their people fear and they build on that fear. What do you fear? You fear not living the good life you've always lived. You fear of losing the grasp of that. Okay. What else do you fear? You fear other people. They make you prejudiced and fear people who are not of your social standings. That's what they convince you of, that you have a social standing. It doesn't make it right. I'm just saying this is what they did. They built their whole campaign on spreading fear and pointing blame. And the biggest mistake the Democrats did is they tried to fight the same way, and they shouldn't have. Because they lost what few Republicans they did have. They could have kept those Republicans if they didn't fight the same way Trump did. If they kept their integrity intact, didn't come out, maybe one said, you know what? I got your number, Trump. Game on. And then if she just said, we're going to do this, we're going to make sure that the law is followed with abortion. We're going to make sure, that at the 7 month or whatever it is, we're going to make sure that your pocketbook's going to get back to where you need it to be. We're going to take care of the middle class. We're going to take a look at those 2025 tax laws, which she had said. But the thing is that she came in the game way too late. Their tactic to pull a switch was way too late.
Well, so now is the time to work on 2026. So the Dems did not do nearly as much. I think the Republicans did 3 times as much negative advertising as the Dems. No, so the deal is that you got to do a lot of unwoke. You got to you have to. The Dems need to engage in unwoke rhetoric. You need to say the first time Trump was president, he burnt down, that fat ass burnt down the country. He's going to burn it down again. You need to get in there. You need to.
They need to do, as you're saying, Rick, but they need to do it. They need to do it the right way. They need to tap into what Trump tapped into. Again, Trump's main base, white people. Trump tapped into white angst. Everything you discussed right there, Kim, that's a Southern strategy. That was based off of trying to get white people, disenfranchised white people, to be upset at other minorities. That was the whole Southern strategy, and that's how they were able to bring those individuals in. That's why the actual Confederate battle flag flies at these Trump functions, and you have actually the Klan and neo-Nazis marching in the streets in defense of Trump today. So what the actual Democrat Party needs to legitimately do is to tap into the anger of the individuals that are there, the anger and the apathy. And the way they have to do that is to understand the FAFO movement. That is a real thing that a lot of people are feeling. And a lot of people are saying, okay, well, you want to F around? Okay, yeah, now you're finding out. And really tie into that. But no, you don't need to trot Chuck Schumer out there. Oh, that's not going to help. That's still looking at the same thing. They need a Jasmine Crockett or an AOC and all these younger individuals to really parrot the same thing they're saying on the FAFO stuff. They really need to point out, hey, look, we tried to warn you guys, but you didn't want to listen to us. Now this is what you get. Now, if you want to work with us, we can work with you. Tell me what you want, and then we can move forward. But otherwise, this is what you voted for. The Venezuelans who are now trying to protest because, they sent your people away. Oh, I told you that was going to happen. I warned you that was going to happen. You didn't want to listen to me. Now, either we can talk or you can just sit there and cry and really have a serious, I'm standing 10 toes down moment because the Democrat Party.
Right. So you mentioned Jasmine Crockett and AOC, who are women of color. Where are the broy young white guys who are going to take over the space and say, the Joe Rogan types who are going to say, you guys, you freaking idiots got taken, you got played for fools.
So honestly, because right now, again, the group that actually voted against Trump the most was the Black community. 80-90% voted against Trump in that community. That community is still there, but they are fractured still as well. It's not a monolith. So honestly, I would utilize the Jasmine Crockett to become spokesman of that community. I would utilize just those individuals of color and the minorities, because again, by 2055, evidently the white community becomes the minority across the nation. So if you're
30, that's 30 years from now.
I'm getting. So what I'm saying is they need to take those voices, begin leading the way on the YouTube scene, on the social media, on the other scene, and actually gravitate to, hey, look, let me talk to David Pakman. Let's have a really good talk. Jon Stewart still has a huge influence. Let's go all on Jon Stewart. Let's go all on these other places. Send these Caucasian individuals, these white males, young white males, into the lion's den of, hey, we get the marching orders from these individuals here that are already trying to, because the Democrat Party and the young movement, they're looking for these young voices, and they're actually excited about these young voices, especially the voices of color. So if you take those voices, then have those white individuals go to where they aren't really going to be heard. Because if you take a Jasmine Crockett and put her on a Brett Baier interview, Fox News viewers like Nick are not going to listen to her.
So there is one very loud young white voice, David Hogg.
Oh yeah,
but he looks like a freaking pussy. His neck is skinny, his arms are skinny. If you want him to be the voice, you got to get that guy on steroids, get him bulked up. You need big sunglasses wearing, fade haircut, pickup driving, country music listening guys to hit. David.
They need people to stand 10 toes down and speak loud, speak over people.
Yeah, see, that worked really well in your last election. I noticed that you do that here all the time. That really works well. And you don't listen to anybody else, which I said that's the real problem. The reason you lose is, and you're going to continue losing, because you don't listen to anyone else's opinion except your own. And one thing that you have to be aware of, Jatovi, and whether you like it or not, the reason the white groupies or whatever they are all voted for Trump is the Democratic Party hates white people. And they made it really clear when both Biden and Gavin Newsom said, I'm going to appoint somebody, and it's going to be a black woman. And they do that over and over again, which tells me you don't like white men. If you don't like white men, I understand every one of them who voted for Trump. Because can you imagine if they said, I'm going to appoint people in office and it's always going to be a white male. Okay?
And this is how we push back.
So you brought it on yourself. You lost. Too bad. So sad. But but you guys don't even get that you slapped everybody in the face, and now you want to know why they don't vote for you.
This is the fun part of pushing back against comments like that and the ideology like that. Because what Nick speaks is very
Tell me
that is an idea. That is an idea that is going throughout a lot of individuals who did vote for Trump. A lot of individuals who have that Confederate battle flag. A lot of individuals who sit there and say, yes, the Democrat Party hates black people. The white man is the race, the least, the most oppressed person in the country. Now, let's follow that rabbit hole. Let's find out. Nick, right now we have data that suggests that black people, Hispanic people are paid less. Women are paid less than white men. But you're saying that white men are more oppressed. Name me. Are you saying that white men are the only ones that can run Fortune 500 companies because only 2 women run a Fortune 500 company and there are no black people who run Fortune 500 companies? So you're telling me that white men are so oppressed that they can run the majority of Fortune 500 companies, but black people are too dumb that they can't run it. Is that what you're telling me?
No, what I'm saying, and apparently that's how you listen to it. What I'm saying is that if I'm applying for a job in the Jacoby administration says, if you're a white male, don't bother to apply.
Because what ends up happening is that the Republican Party uses their voice to push you down, so you cannot speak back. So, you have to stand on your 2 feet. They can't hear him and they can't hear me. So right now it's a bunch of noise.
Jacoby, all you have to do is not say stuff like that.
So that's the way you got
meaning.
I'm going to play something. There is a resistance out there that, Rick will take you in just a second. But this was fascinating to me that because I've been in hacker conventions where they have taken over. They were told they weren't allowed to in Vegas, and they did just to prove they could. But hold on to this.
Now, Trump is now being targeted.
Hold on just a second. Add to stage.
Declared, quote, total war on the billionaire and now claimed to have hacked him and released some of his private information.
Now is the time to unite to fight fascism, to show that we are very serious about stopping any proposed fourth right by the fascist Donald Trump. We have attached a gift, of sorts, Trump's social security number, cell phone number and other details that might be able to assist you all in independently investigating this would-be dictator.
For more on this, we bring in ABC News senior justice correspondent Pierre Thomas. He's in Washington this morning. Good morning, Pierre.
Good morning, Robin. Donald Trump appears to have a new adversary,
and it's anonymous, who, and of course the hackers are really good at being anonymous, but they are good. They're the cyber gods. If you go out and take a look at some of their resistance that they're doing, they're coming off of TikTok so that they won't be taken down.
That is absolutely insane. That shows people more and more will support Trump because you have organizations like that
right.
out there.
But the cyber war is
all they do is they just slander people and say, hey, this is okay. And it's not okay. So you keep doing that, you'll keep losing. You'll lose again in 2 years.
I'm not for it. I'm just saying there's
right, so what about just some
good for them? You got a bunch of jerks out there.
All right, so what about some just from the Dems, some pandering, sloganeering that hits people, dumb people where they live, which is the Democrats making America safe for white people and all people. You just, it's just freaking words. Just say it. Say it. And
Massa, make America safe again. Massa.
The problem again. I mean, like
I said,
Lord. It's just
look, if you look at the Democratic candidates that won, look at Obama, look at Clinton, and if you see how they won, they were very inclusive for everybody. They were very positive for everybody. So Obama and Clinton were really on point. If you look what happened to this particular candidate, everybody was living in la la land. Okay, I mean, the thing is, first of all, everybody even on this show was saying Kamala Harris is going to win. She won the debate. Look how good she is. Look how wonderful she is. So you drank your own Kool-Aid until the election took place. And I warned you guys, you're going to lose. You didn't want to listen, and you still don't want to listen. So,
right, so
the thing is, as long as you don't listen,
Nick, can you think of any Democratic candidate that can live up to Clinton and Obama, Bill Clinton?
Yeah, that's an absolutely good question. Those two were really stars in the sky. In other words, if you look at Obama, if you ever listen to this guy, if you ever listen to Clinton, when I was in sales, first of all, when Jacoby was mentioning fear, first thing they teach you in sales is people are motivated by two things: fear and greed. Fear and greed. If you hit fear and greed, you'll get the sale. If you don't hit fear and greed, forget the sale. So fear and greed will win. Obama and Split Willie were just great at being able to deliver the message with the underlying fear and the potential for greed, and they kept winning elections. Now the question is, if you go to your bench, because it's like a football game or a hockey game again. Toby likes hockey. Go to your bench. Who does the Democrats have? That's your question, Rick. Okay.
We have Gavin Newsom, and he looks too slick.
Absolutely good question. Well, they don't develop anybody because the thing is, you could see what happened the last election. They didn't care about developing anybody, so they don't have a deep bench right now. So I think you guys are going to have to really rethink what you're doing if you want to win.
He answered your question by not answering your question.
You guys aren't going to win a city council, let alone a presidency.
If you notice, he answered your question by not actually giving you an answer. The problem is, no matter what you do, no matter how far you bend over, it's not going to work unless you stand 10 toes down and
go tell Obama he doesn't have a chance to Toby. Come on. Get up here. Come on. You can't tell Obama
Unfortunately, we're at the top of the hour. We'll bring this up tomorrow.
Go.
Bring us some of your questions, people, and some of your suggestions of good topics to talk about. Until then, stay healthy so that you can stay wealthy. Stay on top of your own problems. Don't worry about the president right now. If he's going to make a big mess, we'll have to clean it up.